Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It's so nice to be back with you. I took a little break last week. I think what I'm probably going to do going forward is do 3 episodes a month, give myself a week off. But if there's obviously things I want to talk about, then I'm going to hop on. But having that week off to just reset was really, really good for my system. Especially since last week was a big week for me. My music partner that I've been doing music with for the last 10 years, he got married last weekend. And if you have been around my world for a while, you know that that whole thing has been a thing. For the last, 7-8 months of him getting engaged and stepping back from music and us finding our cadence with our friendship and also our music partnership and how we're going to close that out. So it's been a lot. And so leading up to the wedding last week, I just had a lot of anxiety. And I needed to tend to myself and take care of myself because that is what I tell y'all to do all the time. So I have to take my own advice sometimes. And sometimes that looks like shutting everything down and just tending to the body and tending to the emotions and letting it just clear out. And that's what I did last Friday instead of hopping on the podcast. And it was time well spent because allowing myself that space to tend to what needed to be tended to cleared the portal so that Saturday at the wedding, it was relatively smooth on my system. The ceremony there was a little bit of energy there for me having to go alone. And, but by the time I got to the dinner reception, it was nice and clear. I had a great time. I stayed till like 10 o'clock, which even surprised me. And made some new friends. And it was great. It was really great. So that's where I was last week. And I wanted to give you the little behind the curtain there, just to give you context and to give you a little bit of clarity of what you can expect going forward, because I obviously do love hopping on every week and jamming with y'all. And I also need to have space to be human and do this in a way that is sustainable for me. And this is kind of what's feeling really good and juicy and alive right now. So we'll keep rolling with that. And today, what I want to talk about is accountability and crossing the finish line. So today, I had a really fun and random conversation with a good friend of mine. And it just started randomly. But you know what? In my world, I don't think anything's random. To me, everything that happens in my life is magical. I'm like, there's always some greater force kind of at play. And I don't know how y'all feel, but I'm obsessed with practical magic. And I've been in this weird vortex for the last while of just being so nostalgic for the 90s and spending a lot of emotional and energetic time kind of time traveling back to the 90s and being like, oh, I love it here and it's so whimsical and I love it. It feeds something in me. And then the Practical Magic 2 trailer came out this week, and of course that just took the nostalgia into overdrive. And he had posted a little note on Instagram about nostalgia, and I was like, bro, I feel you. And this is what I've been nostalgic for over the last little while. And he's like, me too. And it sparked this whole fun conversation where we were pinging off of each other for a while. And then it led into a really great chat about accountability and crossing the finish line as creatives, and what we might need in order to really step up and fulfill on the things that are really important to us, and also build into the dream reality. And it turned out that we share a dream. I have this dream of mine of having a chateau in France, in the south of France, where obviously all of my besties come for long table dinners and little creative retreats, and just a space to come and create the things that they want to create, and then open it up for other creators to come and do a little artist creator residency. So that's like the big dream. And it's so weird that I never told him about it, because he's a musician, he's a producer, like we're in that same frequency. Like that's how we met each other. And we've been friends for just over 3 years now. And I don't know why we've never talked about it, but we hadn't. And today I mentioned that along with like the 90s nostalgia, that I had this dream, and he was like, I love that dream. He's like, I have that dream too. Like, I want to live in the south of France. I'm like, okay, we are off to the creative races here. We are like zinging with each other. And it just turned into this beautiful conversation about possibility. It made me realize a few things. The first one is that if you have a mission, if you have art, if you have something in you that you know that you need to create in the world, it is imperative that you surround yourself with people who are amplifiers. Because what happened in that conversation was not him coming and being like, oh, be realistic. Like, oh, how is that going to happen? Or like, even worse, making it about himself and being like, oh, like I feel insecure or jealous about the magnitude of that dream and I'm threatened by it. So I'm just going to throw a little pity party and like literally rain on your parade. Because a lot of people do that. And I find the people who do that are the people who also have big dreams, who kibosh them, who convince themselves that they are pipe dreams, that they are never going to be able to fulfill on them. And so they settle for these like mediocre dreams. If you could even call it a dream, they like settle for this mediocre life. And they think like, yeah, that's it. And so when someone comes along who's playing a bigger game, who's in that field of potentiality and possibility and is a creator, it's very confronting to be in the presence of that energy, because it's a mirror. It'll show you exactly where you abandoned your own dreams and where you settled. And so when you have something sacred like that inside of you, you have to be so on it with who you tell your dreams to, because you can't tell them to everyone. You just can't. Not everyone is equipped. If they are not living a life that you admire, do not tell them your dreams. Period. Point blank. Like, will not be taking questions on that. Just trust me. Because if they are not living a life that you admire, if they are not someone whose character you admire, they're going to see your goals, your dreams, your expansion through the lens of their limitation. And that's a big problem, because what that does is it injects doubt. And if you are someone who's creating in a monumental way, whether you are an artist and there's a body of art that you want to bring into the world, or you are an entrepreneur and you have a body of work that you're bringing into the world, or a business that you're bringing into the world, or let's say you want to have babies in your 40s. I don't know what it is. There's so many different dreams that could be true for you, or you want to live on the other side of the world. Whatever it is, if you tell that to someone who gave up on themselves and gave up on their dreams, the first thing that they're going to do is shoot down yours, because misery loves company. They do not want to be left alone in their mediocrity. And so they will try and kill off your expansion. This is why you've got to be so good at vetting the quality of people and the quality of relationships in your life. It is, in my opinion, it is never worth having people around just for the sake of having people around. Because that is one of the things that will kill your momentum too, when you just kind of take what you can get, instead of being like, does this actually enrich and enliven me? Does this relationship amplify me? Do I feel supported? Do I feel cheered on and championed? And if that's not someone's way of being with you, I'm not suggesting you hard cut the relationship and run, but I do recommend that you run some serious diagnostics and get really fucking honest with yourself about whether or not that is a relationship that makes the cut going forward, because there is going to be a reckoning, a point in time where you have to face yourself and you have to face the life that you've created for yourself and weigh that against the life that you want to be living. And do that hard inventory of what have I built and what have I created that is congruent with the dream life that I have and the vision I have for myself in my life, and what is in my life that I've said yes to that is incongruent, that is actually holding me back. And for a lot of you, that is a relationship, whether it is a friendship, whether it is a work collaboration, whether that is a romantic partner or a lover. A lot of the time we keep these mediocre relational connections alive because probably at one point it was really vital. It was a really great relationship, and for whatever reason, it is no longer. So you have two options when that's the scenario: is either you really get boots on the ground and reboot that relationship. Both people have got to be all in to recreate that relationship alive. You literally have to end the relationship that's dead so that you can begin a relationship that's alive again. And you have to design it intentionally. And if you don't know how to do that, that's when you come and work with me because I will teach you. I will show you how to do that. And then there are the other connections that these are ones are way more sobering to sit with, because they are the ones that were never aligned or alive or great from the jump. They were just ones that we welcomed in because we were lonely. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being lonely and making choices from that place. Okay, that's not about shaming. It's about just being able to sit and touch reality and say, you know what, I actually did. I made that choice to be in connection with that person when I was really depleted, when I was really lonely, when my self-esteem was in the fucking toilet. And of course that relationship cannot expand with me because it wasn't created from an origin space of expansion. That wasn't the relational agreement, at least unconsciously, that we made with each other. When you choose relationships from that place of the internal deficit, those relationships always have an unwritten rule of expansion is threatening to this relationship. Do not do it because it will force the one person who doesn't want to grow, or at least be confronted by the fact that they aren't growing. And this happens a lot in relationships, especially when we have this very, very hungry for love part of us that is in charge of the choosing. And it can get us into relationships with people that we don't actually really like that much, but they're a warm body. And I know that sounds fucking awful, but humans are messy. Like, I'm sorry, but we are messy. We do weird shit. We do a lot for the plot sometimes, And I was writing about this today in my poetry book, and I'm putting that together. It's going to be out in May. I'm super stoked. And it's this, concept of, sometimes we do choose people who aren't it. And we have to sit with the consequences of that. We have to sit with the sobering reality of that, not from a place of shame, but just from a place of truth. Because once you can name the truth, that's when you have power to create again. And when we can sit with the version of ourselves that chose a relationship from a place of being starved for love, and when we can have compassion for that version that was malnourished, energetically and emotionally and relationally, and we can sit with that younger version of ourselves and love on them and be like, oh gosh, yeah, that makes total sense why you did that. And there's something more for us here now. And if you stay in that identity, the one that chose a relationship not because it was true, but because there was this spot in you that needed filling, and oftentimes this comes from like a wound position, when our wounds do the mating. And listen, I've had plenty of these types of relationships. You don't get some award for not having wound mates. In my opinion, you've got to have a couple wound mates in your history in order to really recognize and understand what a true soulmate is. Because when we go through these wound mate relationships, they are very sobering. They show us exactly what part of us was doing the choosing. Very, very powerful information. And you can see the trajectory of that. If I keep choosing this, because it is a choice. It's always a choice. When you're in a relationship that you don't want to be in and you're still in it, that's because you're choosing to be in it. And when you can own the fact that you're choosing to be in it, then your power comes back and you can make a new choice. It's when we think that we are at effect of life instead of being at cause. And this is not about blame either. Like, people hear like being at cause for your life and they somehow conflate that with blame. I'm not really entirely sure how the mind does that little flippity flip, but it happens a lot. And being at cause means, I'm making the choice. I'm the creator of my experience here. And if I don't like the trajectory that I'm on, it is my responsibility to change course, to do something about it. And, some relationships can upgrade with you. That is true. Both people got to be all in for that to happen. And some relationships will run their course. And that's okay too. Not everybody is meant to travel with you for forever. And some people are meant to travel with you in a certain relational form for a period of time, and then it moves into a different form, and that's totally fine. And there isn't just this one and only way of doing relationships and being in relationship. There's a lot of different ways. But you've got to be so honest with yourself about what is really true for you. I don't know how I got on this crazy tangent because I was talking about my dream with my friend on the accountability. I'm going to rein it in, I promise. Land the plane. But this is the thing. When you have people in your life who can amplify your dreams actually have the conditions to be created into form. And when we have all of these relationships, whether they are romantic, family, work, creative, lover, when we have those and they're not in alignment, they're not congruent, those dynamics siphon your creative life force energy, which it makes it even harder to create anything. So if you've got a business and you want your business to thrive, your relational health matters so much, because your relationships are going to inform the level of expansion and success you can have. And if your partner has limitations around that, or if your friend circle has limitations around that, or your family has limitations around that, that is going to imprint and inform where you go with it. And so it's very, very important that you do that inventory, okay? And that you be totally clear and honest with yourself. And if you do have a change that needs to be made, and you've known it for a while, you've been circling it for a while, and there's something that's still in the way of you being able to take the action to get that change locked in and get that momentum rolling, I have a new offering that I am doing in May. This may be the first, well, it is the first time I'm doing this, but it may be the only time I'm doing this. We'll see. We're going to try it out. We're going to experiment. But a 4-week container where we work on this exact spot. If you have a choice that you've been circling and you are not, for whatever reason, able to pull the trigger, and there are many, many good reasons why we get stopped there. But the longer we stay stuck in the non-action, in this in-between liminal space of like, I know something needs to change, but I'm also not willing to do anything to change it, you erode your self-trust, you erode your self-concept, you erode the momentum that your business or that your art or your body of work needs. Even the energy to be a great parent erodes. And so it is essential that you have what you need in order to be able to make that decision and make that choice and set it in motion. So we're going to be working 4 weeks. There's only 9 women in this container because I like small and intimate. It's my vibe. It's my jam. And I'm going to take you through the process. We're going to do a little sexy shadow work. We're going to do some embodiment work. We are going to get into the heart of what your situation is and what is it that you actually need in order to get that change in motion. Because we're not going to be leaving that 4-week container where you're still sitting on your hands. We're going to get it in motion, but in a way that is very relational. This is not about blowing up your life or blowing up your relationships. It's how do we handle those changes reverently, with dignity, relationality, being really landed in our body and open in our heart. Because when you initiate a change from that place, it actually opens the field of possibility. And when the field of possibility is open, all sorts of things become possible. And I am a walking testament of this process. I've been doing it for 18 years. Oh my God. That's wild. Really dating myself here. But I have been working this process since 2008, and it has changed my life. The reason I can have, this very serendipitous moment today with my friend where we, open this portal of, oh my gosh, we have a shared dream, and then we start dream weaving it together. And then that leads us into a conversation about the creative projects that we're working on and what we need to cross the finish line. And what I needed to cross the finish line with my poetry book is like intimate accountability. Someone who is an amplifier for me, someone who believes in me, like he believes in me, it doesn't matter what I do. He's like Team Kelsey. And I am the same for him. It doesn't matter what he creates. I am so for it. He is incredibly talented and one of the most loving and kind and generous human beings I have had the pleasure of meeting in my lifetime. And I will tell you, the reason why I meet so many people like that in my life and why my community is full of these types of people is because I am able to navigate relational changes relationally. I can do it in a way that preserves my dignity and the dignity of the other person. I am willing to face the things that aren't working, bring it out into the open, talk about it, and reimagine the agreements or complete from a place of integrity and love. And when you have that skill in your back pocket, you no longer are passively going through life or like from this reactive place of going through life. You can go through life from a creative standpoint where you are literally at cause for what you create. And that's a very empowering thing. So all that to say, like when you have people who are amplifiers in your corner, it allows you to bring your dreams fully into life because there is this energetic momentum that catches when you are surrounded by people who are also living open-heartedly, who also, care about the quality of their relationships, who are also taking action on their dreams, who are in the game. And when we have relationships that have run their course, these are the types of people who are willing to address it. And address it in a way where both people leave the connection, if that's what's true, and they leave it from a place of love. That's probably another book I gotta write. But we're going to get the poetry one out first. And today when I was, chatting with him, and we just naturally went from this conversation of 90s nostalgia and practical magic into a dream about a chateau in France, and then into what are the next creative projects and like what do we need to create in our lives in order to make that dream a reality, and how do we hold each other accountable and hold each other capable of creating what we need to create in order to step into this next iteration of our life and build this like collaborative dream together. And so we both made declarations of like, these are the things that I'm committed to creating for the next month. And these are my by whens, my deadlines. He did the same. We both put it in our calendar. Like, okay, check in on this day. And then no word of a lie. After we had that, the most immaculate lock-in happened for me creatively. I'll probably talk about this in another episode, but this book writing process has been wild for me. And while I have pieces of it put together and I largely have the poems that I want to put in there, like it's kind of discombobulated and messy, and like I weaving it together, and I always trust the process. But today something happened with that accountability, and when it locked in, all of a sudden, whoom, the lock-in happened with the book. And I was able to go through and structure it in a way that makes sense to my brain, gives it containment, gives it structure, not too much that it chokes out the creativity and the flow, just enough. It's that fine balance. It's like this energetic of union between the structure and the flow. And this is a balance that you are going to have to get really good at holding and generating in your relationships. Because relationships that have too much structure have no joy and no flow. But relationships that only have flow and no structure, they flatline too. They turn into this murky soup of confusion. Not a fucking vibe. And so the sweet spot is where we can pair containment and structure with flow and opening. And whether you're doing that in a relationship or you're doing it for a creative process, it's the same energetic to be able to hold it. And that's what happened today with the book, is that balance locked in. And once it did, and once the structure and the containment was there, all of a sudden the flow of the creative energy unlocked. And I completed a quarter of the book today, like start to finish. Now all I have to do is format that section. Like, it's crazy because of like how much struggle this whole process has been since I began it in February. And now I'm like, I've mapped out the other 3 sections and we're going to get section 2 done tomorrow. And like my commitment was to have that first draft, everything structured, everything locked in by Wednesday. And looks like we're going to get that done way before Wednesday. And that's the power of accountability, but also the type of accountability with someone who is not going to like micromanage you. Someone who amplifies your dreams, who believes in you, who believes you're capable. That's all I needed. That's all I needed was to be able to declare to him, this is what I'm committed to. This is the by when. And this is what I need from you in order for me to be able to like really cross the finish line. And as soon as I declared all of those aspects and locked it in, and then he did it in his way, like his way was a little different, and that was totally great. I'm like, okay, that's what you need. Awesome. I will do that for you. It's a little bit different, but we both know ourselves enough to ask for specifically what we needed. And now it's like this vortex between us of creative momentum where we ping pong off of each other. And your platonic relationships get to be like that. Your romantic relationships get to be like that. Your soul family relationships get to be like that. That's what's possible when you really commit to this path of relational mastery and creative expression. It's truly so extraordinary. And if you're listening to this still, I genuinely want every dream in your heart to have the proper space to come to fruition. And one of my gifts is that of an amplifier. I am a world-class cheerleader for your soul. And I also have the relational skills and the emotional skills and the embodiment skills to help you dial your system so that you can create the conditions for everything that you want for yourself in your life to come through. Okay? So that you can create it into form. So if you feel like one of those 9 spots is for you, I want you to head to the show notes and send me an email. I'm going to put my email address in there, and I want you to send me an email saying I'm in. Send me more information. Let me know. I want to do this in a really intimate way. I want to have conversations with you coming into the container. The container is $697 total, 4 coaching calls, 4 weeks, 75 minutes per call. Everybody's getting supported on every single call. And I'll probably throw in some bonus material in there too, because that is how your girl likes to roll. And I want you to have all the things that you need in order to be able to pull the trigger on the change. Whatever that change is that you need to make, and you know it, you can feel it. It's rumbling right under the surface. It's been sitting with you this entire time, and you're like, fuck, it's now or never. And it's time. It's now. You can do it. I believe in you. And I will help you cross that finish line and do it with dignity, do it with love, do it with so much relational mastery so that you're proud of yourself and you open up that field of potentiality and possibility for yourself in your life. Okay? I love you. Thank you for being here. I can't wait to jam with you next week. We'll see you soon. Okay? Bye, friends.